Hello, my name is Michael Evans, and this is Cards and Boards. This time we're going to review a game called Pixel Glory by Zappy Games. Pixel Glory is a deck building-ish bidding dungeon crawl card game. It's probably easier to show you than it is to explain. Okay, to start the game, a random player is given the tiebreaker staff. Basically, it's used during the bidding phase for your spells, because each player is going to get one of these decks of cards, 1 through 9. You know, separated so that way, well, the earth elemental cards, the fire elemental cards, water elemental cards, and spell cards are separate. You're going to have them spaced out, but they're all the same. The elemental cards are all the same. You'll shuffle these spell cards. In a 2 or 3 player game, you'll flip over 3. In a 4 player game, you'll flip over 4. When you start bidding. But first, you have your monster deck. You'll take out so many cards, depending on how many players there are. You'll have before you do that, separate the Dungeon Lord and the Dungeon Keeper. The Dungeon Lord will be at the very bottom when you next phase. Dungeon Keeper will be mixed in, but that's in the next phase. That's not important during the town phase where you're building your spell deck. Okay, so what will happen is you'll have X amount of monster cards, depending on the players. 2-player game, you'll reveal all the monster cards. In a 3 or 4 player game, you'll show so many per turn when you're bidding on spells. To bid on spells, you'll put out like say a 2-player or 3-player game, you put out 3. On a 4-player game, you put out 4. Each card does something different. Like this one is a Fire Blah. Deals 5 damage, deals 7 damage, which means it will do 5 damage to a monster, deals 7 damage either to the same monster or to a different monster, which is important later. This deals 2 damage, and you may remove a monster you have defeated from the game if you do deal 10 damage. That could be very useful, but it could also cost you points. This one is deals 3 damage to monsters. So we have a fire, we have an earth, and we have a water. This is very important because we'll have the monster showing. Each monster has an element too. So if when you're playing in the second phase, fire elemental spells will do 1 extra damage to earth elemental. Where this one is split, that means if there's they're both being used against fire earth elementals, you do 6 damage and then 8 damage. Against anything else, a water or fire or one of the Dungeon Lord or Dungeon Keeper, it would just do the normal 5 and 7. But against Earth, against Earth, it would do extra damage. Each attack that's used against fire an Earth one would do extra damage, and the Earth would do an extra damage against water, and the water would do extra damage against fire. So what you would do, the players would go through their bidding deck, decide how badly they want. If there's a specific spell they want badly, they'll use a larger number in order to be the first one to pick. If they don't care, they'll use a smaller number. And then, like I say, so say green player played a 4, yellow player played a 5, and blue player played a 5. Then if the yellow or the blue player had the tie staff, that player would go first, and the tie staff would go off to the side. If it wasn't, the person closest to the person on the left-hand side of the player with the tie staff would go first. Person who went last. So whether you use it or not, it will change hands unless the player who had it before plays the lowest number and chooses last, in which case we'll keep it. The tie staff is really only important in the very beginning or during this phase, with the exception that the person who has the tie staff at the very end of the bidding goes first. You'll bid for 9 rounds, so I have 9 cards. Every time you bid, the bid card, the card you bid, goes out. So, like I say, so if you used your 9, you're not going to have a 9 again to bid on another spell. So you have to keep that in mind when you're bidding on spells. That is phase 1. Phase 1, the town. One thing I forgot to mention. The numbers on here, like the fire 5, earth 3, water 4. That means if you get that water, you would get 4 of these cards to go with it. What these do is they're 1 water damage each. So if you're using this against earth or water, it'd be 1 damage. If you're using it against a fire creature, it'd be worth 2 damage. So you take the 4 there, and this one would be worth 3, a green. That'd be worth 5, fire. So that would probably be one of the best ones to take. Even if they were all fire elementals, still you're doing a lot more damage, and you have a lot more chances to get the fire basic elemental spell. Now for phase 2, the dungeon phase, you have white cubes, red cubes, and red hearts. The red hearts and red cubes are used for the life of the monsters. The white cubes are combo points. You set those aside. You take the monsters that you have for your the amount of monsters that you use, you set aside, so you take them up. You take your dungeon keeper, put it in with those. Your dungeon lord goes here off the side. You shuffle up this deck. You put it on top of the dungeon lord. The dungeon lord is always the last one you fight. You will draw 3 enemies. Now every enemy except for the dungeon lord and the dungeon keeper have an elemental affinity. Like green would be earth, blue is water, red is fire. Some of them have special abilities like this. If you deal 7 damage or more to the gargantuan without killing it this turn, gain a combo point. Now, that means an extra combo point on top of what you would get for not killing a monster if you don't kill a monster. You would take, so with those out, you would look at the hit points up here. 14 hit points, so you take 5, 10, each card is worth 5 hit health. And then 4 here. This is 13. 13. So 5, 10, 13. This is 9. So 5 and 9. You would take the deck of spells that you got from your bidding in your town phase, shuffle it up. You draw 4 cards. You always draw 4 cards. You always have to use 4 cards. So in this instance, this will deal 2 damage for each fire card played this turn. So this would only deal 4 damage. Uh, this will only deal 2 damage because you only have 2. You play that here, do 2 damage here, 2 damage here, or since that's Earth, you can do 3 damage to him. If you do there, you just take away the little cubes until, he was worn down. The Earth is strongest against water, so you can do 3 points to them, 3 points to him, or 6 points to him, because each one of these is 1 plus 1, because that's water. Now, the thing is, you don't want to get them too weak, because your opponent might be able to take them. There's a crown at the bottom of each card. That's how much glory they are worth. You're fighting over the glory. The reason you're going into the dungeon is you're looking for glory. So you want to get the most amount of glory. So one thing you can do is you can have a card in reserve. So like I say, you thought that this would weaken it too much, so it would. You don't want to do that. Put it here. Use these 3 like on that. Take that out. Hope he can't get 11 or get enough to get the other ones. And then next turn, when you have 4 more, you can take this up and use all 5 cards. You can always have a card in reserve, but you can only have 1 card in reserve, and you can use it whenever you want. But you can't put another card in reserve until it's used. You go through that until you defeat the dungeon, until you defeat every enemy. Once every enemy is defeated, you'll count up. Every kill will go towards you. You'll count up the points. Highest points wins. Now, if you attack and do not kill any monsters, you'll get a combo point. Or cards like this where you deal 7 or more without killing it. That will give you a combo point, maybe even 2 if you don't kill anything. 3 combo points. Automatic kills any elemental monsters, which is any monster that is not the dungeon lord or the dungeon keeper. 3 combo points can also let you draw 4 more cards, which might be enough to give you another kill or 2. So that is the dungeon phase. You go in, you try to kill the monsters and try not to weaken them enough that the other players can kill them. You draw 4 cards each turn. You have to play 4 cards each turn, and highest points wins. So that was basically a Piss of Glory. I apologize, that was a bit rambling. I find this is one of the games. It's much easier to just jump in and play than it is to explain it. Now, I really like this game. I backed a different game by this company on Kickstarter called Gingerdead House, and I picked this up as an add-on because I figured, it looks cute. I got watching videos and I was thinking, oh, that bidding at the beginning looks like it's going to be really boring. It's actually my favorite part of the game. The dungeon part is fun too, but it's sort of more luck based, but the drafting is a lot more fun than I expected it to be. I am so glad I picked up this game. I bet they had Kickstarter for expansion for the Gingerdead House, which they had an add-on which let you get all the expansions for all the games. So I got the 2 expansions for this, which are pets and achievements, and I will show them when I get them. I'm really looking forward to those. A lot of people have complained that, sort of the dungeon part is too luck based, and I can understand where they're coming from, but personally, I really like this game. I'd say if you get a chance, if you can, give it a chance. If you see it, if you see someone playing it, willing to let you try it out. If you see it on Kickstarter, back it. I highly recommend it. I think that is all for this time. Thank you for watching, and until next time, have a good evening.